The Super El Niño Winter: How Florida Gardeners Can Adapt, Protect, and Thrive. Florida is heading into one of the most disruptive climate events in recent memory, as experts warn that a Super El Niño is increasingly likely to develop and intensify through the fall and winter, with NOAA estimating an 81% chance that this system reaches very strong status, and the World Meteorological Organization predicting global temperatures to climb even higher. Floridians must prepare for a season defined by heavy rainfall, persistent cloud cover, cooler daytime temperatures, and an elevated risk of severe winter storms. This narrative serves as a comprehensive guide for gardeners, homeowners, and small growers who need to understand how this powerful climate pattern will unfold, how it will affect Florida's agriculture and backyard gardens, and what strategic steps can be taken now to protect plants, soil, and seasonal harvests. A Super El Niño dramatically reshapes Florida's weather across two distinct phases, and understanding this timeline is essential for planning your garden and protecting your crops. During the summer and early fall months, from July through November, Florida will likely see an early end to the rainy season, sometimes fading out as early as August. Upper-level wind shear will suppress Atlantic hurricane development, reducing overall tropical activity, though late-season storms can still form and should not be dismissed. As winter approaches, the subtropical jet stream shifts directly over the Gulf of Mexico and Florida, creating an atmospheric pipeline that funnels Pacific moisture across the state. This results in persistent cloud cover, significantly above average rainfall, and cooler daytime temperatures stretching from December through March. This active southern jet stream also increases atmospheric turbulence, raising the threat of strong winter low-pressure systems, severe thunderstorms, and isolated tornadoes. While a typical El Niño winter reduces the likelihood of catastrophic hard freezes, the combination of high moisture and low sunlight will dramatically increase fungal disease pressure and slow plant growth across both commercial agriculture and home gardens. Farmers and backyard growers alike will need to adjust their strategies to compensate for the lack of sunshine, saturated soils, and prolonged periods of wet foliage. Commercial agriculture faces several major challenges under these conditions. Florida's $500 million strawberry industry, concentrated in Hillsborough, Polk, Manatee, and Hardee counties, is at particular risk. Historic data shows that El Niño cycles trigger above-average outbreaks of Botrytis fruit rot 70% of the time, forcing growers to rely heavily on tools like the UF/IFAS Strawberry Advisory System to precisely time fungicide applications. Warm season crops such as tomatoes and bell peppers will likely experience delayed ripening and reduced yields due to the lack of sunlight. Citrus growers will also face slower growth and delayed sugar development in deciduous fruit and late-season varieties as excessive cloud cover and rainfall interfere with normal maturation. Home gardeners will encounter their own set of challenges. Constant heavy rain accelerates nutrient leaching, especially nitrogen, leading to yellowing leaves and weakened plants. High humidity and wet foliage create ideal conditions for powdery mildew, black spot, and root rot, while saturated soils increase the risk of flooding and erosion. To adapt, gardeners must turn off automatic irrigation systems during rain-heavy weeks and water only at the base of plants to keep foliage dry. Improving drainage by elevating winter vegetables into raised beds or containers becomes essential, as does pruning dense foliage to increase airflow and help plants dry more quickly after storms. Certain vegetables are far better suited to the cool, wet, low-light conditions of an El Niño winter. Leafy greens such as kale, collards, Swiss chard, and spinach thrive with minimal sunlight and tolerate heavy rainfall. Brassicas like broccoli and cabbage perform well in chilly, moist weather, though broccoli requires excellent drainage to protect its roots. Root crops such as radishes and carrots also fare well, with radishes maturing quickly enough to avoid prolonged disease cycles. In contrast, warm season crops like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and squash should be avoided entirely, as they will stunt, drop blossoms, and rot in the high humidity and low sunlight. Onions can be grown successfully during a Super El Niño, but gardeners must adjust their approach. Green or bunching onions, such as evergreen bunching or white Lisbon, are highly recommended because they do not require high sunlight or precise daylight hours to form bulbs. Bulbing onions, including short-day varieties like Grain-X, Vidalia, or Red Creole, face significant risks due to the persistent cloud cover and excessive rainfall, which can result in small, stunted bulbs. Onions are particularly vulnerable to root rot, nutrient washing, and fungal diseases such as downy mildew and purple blotch. To protect them, gardeners should plant onions in raised beds or containers filled with loose, well-draining potting mix. Switch to liquid fertilizers like fish emulsion every 2 weeks, and space plants farther apart to improve airflow. The vegetable compatibility matrix for this winter emphasizes crops that naturally tolerate shade and moisture. Leafy greens, brassicas, cool season peas, green onions, and fast-growing radishes will thrive, while warm season staples, bulbing onions, and common beans should be avoided or carefully timed. Peas are an excellent choice for an El Niño winter because they love cool, damp conditions and tolerate afternoon shade. Their vines, however, are fragile and can be damaged by heavy rain, so gardeners should install sturdy trellises or mesh fencing and space plants generously to prevent powdery mildew. Beans, on the other hand, are high-risk crops during this season. They hate cold, wet soil and are prone to rust, anthracnose, and bacterial blights. If gardeners wish to grow beans, they must plant them early in September or October so the plants mature before the heaviest winter rain arrives, and bush varieties should be chosen over pole beans to reduce wind damage. Infrastructure modifications are essential for managing the moisture surge. Ground-level Florida soil will become waterlogged and muddy, making raised beds, grow bags, and containers the safest options. A potting mix composed of peat moss, coarse perlite, and compost ensures rapid drainage. Pea vines must be anchored with reinforced trellises to withstand winter storms. Nutrient leaching can be countered by switching from granular fertilizers to liquid feeding every 2 weeks, allowing plants to absorb nutrients quickly before the next rain. Automatic irrigation systems should be disabled entirely during wet weeks, and gardeners should water only when the top 2 inches of soil are dry. Disease prevention becomes a daily responsibility. High humidity and wet foliage create ideal conditions for powdery mildew, black spot, damping off, and root rot. Gardeners should increase plant spacing by at least 30% and prune inner foliage aggressively to improve airflow. Watering should be done exclusively at the base of plants, never overhead. Organic biofungus containing Bacillus subtilis offers superior protection during heavy rain because they colonize plant surfaces and roots from within, making them far more resistant to wash-off than copper or neem sprays. Gardeners should monitor their plants daily, removing any yellowing, spotted, or moldy leaves immediately, and never leaving fallen debris on the soil surface. This Super El Niño has a 97% chance of lasting through early spring 2027. Climate models indicate that the system will follow a typical 9 to 12-month life cycle, but with intensified phases. Peak intensity is expected between October and December, with the system gradually weakening in spring 2027 as Pacific Ocean temperatures cool. By April or May, El Niño should dissolve into a neutral phase. However, the massive amount of heat released into the atmosphere will linger, and scientists warn that 2027 may become the hottest year in recorded history. These lingering effects may influence winter heating costs, energy demands, and global food supplies well into next year. As Florida prepares for a Super El Niño that will reshape the state's weather patterns for months, gardeners and growers must take proactive steps to protect their plants, soil, and seasonal harvests. By understanding the timeline of this powerful climate event, choosing crops that thrive in cool, wet, low-light conditions, modifying infrastructure to improve drainage, and implementing strict disease prevention strategies, you can navigate the challenges ahead with confidence. This season will demand vigilance, adaptability, and thoughtful planning. But with the right approach, your garden can remain productive and resilient throughout the most intense phases of the El Niño cycle. If you found this guide helpful, make sure you hit the like button, tap the notification bell so you never miss an update, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone who gardens in Florida or expects to be affected by the coming Super El Niño. Leave a comment below and tell me how you're preparing for this powerful climate event, whether you're adapting your garden in Florida or getting ready in your own state. Your experiences and ideas help everyone stay one step ahead of this season.